So the sign of a good team is when one win streak ends, you begin another one as quick as possible. And the Avalanche have at least started that, but it's going to be a lot difficult to get back to 6 games because the next 5 are on the road for the Avs. But never say never. What's going on, Avalanche fans? Welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli, with another episode of the podcast dedicated to your Colorado Avalanche. As always, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. And before we get into anything, first things first, follow the show on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram, and send questions, comments, concerns, opinions to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And of course, follow the show's YouTube channel over on YouTube. So good weekend overall for the Avalanche and a good month for the Avs. If you remember, I had thrown out a prediction that this was a very favorable schedule for the Avalanche in the month of November, only playing 10 total games. And I had said if they go 7-3, I will take that. Anything over that, obviously, if you go 8-2 in a month, that's very good. And what the Avs do, they went 7-2-1, and it was not the best start to the month. You had those 2 games against Columbus. You lose 1 in overtime, and then you lose 1 outright, and then you rattle off the 6 in a row. You have a very poor game that you played against Dallas, but you followed that up the very next day with a very good win against the Predators. And we'll talk about the last 2 games in particular because that was since I've done a show, those 2 games are the ones that the Avalanche have taken part in. But just standing back and looking at the month that was for the Avs, you can kind of feel like this is the team that you were expecting to see. They're coming into their own. Players are starting to hit their strides. Everything seems to be trending in the right direction for the Avs. And if you're watching on YouTube, and I said, the beginning, they at least have 1 win down for another winning streak, hopefully. But to get back to 6 games, their next 5 are on the road. I'll get to the December schedule probably tomorrow. I won't take time to get into that right now because they do have another couple days off before they're playing again. But that first game is Wednesday in Toronto. So you're starting that 5-game road trip against a pretty good team. But the last 2 games for the Avs, the first one against Dallas, win streaks are going to come to an end. And you're going to lose more games throughout this season. But when you have a 6-game winning streak and everything just seems to be going in your direction, you're playing well. To lose the win streak like that, I think is what irks a lot of people, including myself, because they just looked completely flat they gave up those 2 goals in the first, minute and a half to Pavelski. And the way Dallas plays, that's a tough team. When you get down like that, even though it's that early in the game and there's a lot of hockey left, Dallas is not going to give you much of anything. To give them, you spot that team 2 goals in the first couple minutes, they will take that every single time. Number one, because they struggle to score. They don't have a offensive powerhouse of a team, but they do play good defense. They're almost like the Islanders. Well, not the Islanders this year, because the Islanders this year are playing horribly. But that's what the Islanders would do to you. They would just lull you to sleep, get a goal here, get a goal there, and then just shut you down. And that is exactly what Dallas can do to you, and that's what they did. Avs did what they could. I don't want to say they played lazy, but they just could not get anything going. And I give more credit to Dallas than really the Avs struggling to get anything going offensively. Even having said that, they still had 37 shots on goal, I think it was. Yeah, they still managed 37 shots on goal. So I mean, you have to take positives out of any loss, and I think that's what you would do with that game, because it looked, it was one of those games where you were like, I, I just don't think the Avs can come back on this, even with the Cale Makar goal that got it to 3-1. I mean, when did he score that? Let me see. I know it was pretty late in the third. Yeah, there was like 4 minutes left when he scored it. I mean, you weren't jumping up and down saying like, all right, there is a chance. It's just, it was one of those games where Dallas held the pace of play for the duration of that game. So I give them more credit. And when you played into their hands, you absolutely played into their hands by giving up those 2 early goals, and then they can just play their defensive style of game, which is smoldering. They were giving the Avs nothing. They do a very good job of clogging up the neutral zone. The power play, which I think the Avalanche only had 2, 3. The power play looked horrible. They couldn't get anything going on the power play. Again, all because you played into Dallas's hands and how they want to control the pace of a hockey game. And even though you have speed, it's tough to get that momentum and that speed going when there is a player on you the second you touch the puck. So tough game to lose the streak in that manner. Is it Kemper's fault? I mean, the whole skate thing, Skategate, I guess you're calling it now. Like it's not gonna go well for you, because that's always going to be in the back of your mind, without a doubt. But then you follow that up with the very next day against another division rival in the Nashville Predators, and that game, that you got back on track with that. And you can look at the Dallas game as just like a hiccup, just a bump in the road. They outplayed you. Your win streak lost. But what do good teams do? Good teams don't dwell on that. And the Avalanche didn't have time to dwell on it. They turned right around and really, the first thing that came to my head, and I was not going to use it as a pun, was you really punched him in the mouth. And Gabe Landeskog did that literally. And if you don't get behind a captain who does that for your team, you might as well not even play the game. We'll get into that and some other things. But first, we are going to hear from DirecTV Stream. And does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch all of the games live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, and you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's sister's login for everything else. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all of that entertainment that you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion. Get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. And you can learn more at directtv.com. Once again, it is directtv.com. Compatible devices required and content varies by package. So you lose your 6-game winning streak, and the very next day you don't have time to dwell on it because you're flying back home and you're playing another division rival, and that is in the Nashville Predators. And Mikko Rantanen there was a lot of stars of this game, and I don't mean 1, 2, 3 stars. I mean just a lot of guys that played very, very well in this game. And when you have a hat trick, that is going to get the publicity and the media coverage, which is great because he, the first 2 goals of the game were on him. He was a dominant force in this game. like he is most of the time, but I feel like he needed to have a game like this to really kind of establish himself again, and maybe just for his own confidence. Not that he's not playing well, but you want your stars to do stuff like this. And they're getting sick of like hearing everything Connor McDavid is doing and Leon Draisaitl is doing, and even Alex Ovechkin, who's been doing it for centuries now. You want an Avalanche player to step up and be at least for a day. With Nathan MacKinnon out, Mikko Rantanen is that guy. It's been Nazem Kadri. He's been in the headlines, and he continued. He had 2 assists in the game. It's against the Predators, obviously. But his streak came to an end. Not only did the winning streak come to an end for the Avs, but his point streak came to the end for Kadri against the Stars. So he got a couple assists back in there. He continues to play extremely well, but stuff like hat tricks that gets the fan base going, especially when it's on home ice. It's almost like when a no hitter is getting thrown. You never know when it's going to happen, and when it does happen for your team, it's a special event. And if you're lucky enough to be there, it's one of those things where you say, like, I saw a hat trick. I saw Mikko Rantanen, one of our star players, get a hat trick. So he played exceptionally well. First game back for Bo Byram. I mean, he said in the first intermission, he was being interviewed on Altitude, and he said he's felt good the past number of days, but he didn't want to rush coming back. And that is maturity, because when you're only 20 years old, if he's even 20 years old, yeah, I think he is, you want to rush back in there, maybe ahead of when you should. Doctors say, like, yeah, you could be good to go. I don't know how this went down. Maybe the doctor said you're good to go, and he said, well, I'm playing a back-to-back, so maybe sit out the first one, and I'll be good for the second one. Who knows how the conversation went? Either way it went, it seemed like he didn't miss a beat. And man, is like the confidence that kid has is off of the charts. He like that is going to be a dangerous blue line across the board for the Avalanche all season long, and hopefully for years to come. He is exciting to watch. My boy Cale Makar just continues to be, in my opinion, this isn't even close to who the best defenseman in the league is. And I don't say that because he knows how to score. He is a scoring machine when it comes to a defenseman. 3 assists on the day. It's more than that. I don't say like he's the best defenseman in the league just because of his offensive capabilities. He's a very good defenseman. His positioning is second to none. His skating is top of the line. He's deceptively fast. And he just does things with the puck that not a lot of defensemen can do. So he is the whole package. And I could do Locked On Cale Makar and talk about him every single day. We are lucky to have this guy. So, you want to get fully healthy. And when McKinnon comes back and Comfort comes back, which hopefully is very soon, and you have this team at 100%, God, they are a tough matchup for anybody. And Cale Makar, if I was an opposing head coach, he would give me nightmares, absolute nightmares. He's playing out of his mind right now. But what everybody is talking about, as rightly they should be, is Landeskog being a captain and standing up for his team. He ran into Nashville's goalie, which he wasn't diving into him. He did run into him. I had no problem with Nashville being upset that he did. That he kind of he was making a play on the puck, and he kind of jumped in and he's sliding in. It wasn't like he just took him out. He slid into him. But if you touch a goalie, you're gonna get some gloves in your face. That's fine, all fine and well. But when it went to excess, and Mikko Rantanen I don't think Mikko Rantanen liked how they were kind of piling on Landeskog because he's already on the ground. He slid into him kind of Superman style. And I don't think Landeskog liked how many guys jumped in on Landeskog when he was already like in a vulnerable position on his stomach. So he didn't like that. And then you get Ekholm just yanking on Rantanen's helmet. That comes flying off. He throws it behind him, and that was it for Landeskog. He technically started this thing because he slid into their goalie, and he ended it by absolutely leveling Ekholm. And yeah, Landeskog deserved every penalty minute he got in that. I had put up on Twitter, like, I don't understand how you give him an instigating penalty, which at the beginning of the third, they did change it because instigating is ridiculous. He didn't instigate something that's been going on for like a couple minutes or two. He jumped into it. It's farthest thing from instigating, but that's semantics. He deserved it. He deserved the 10, the 5, the 2, but it's penalty minutes well earned because I can guarantee you, and I put this up on Twitter, that I can guarantee you that's the last time that Ekholm tries to rip off the helmet of anybody on the Colorado Avalanche. He will think 2, 3, 4 times before he does anything stupid like that. And he knew what he was doing was stupid to begin with, because you just don't do that. You don't do that. So you deserve what you got, which is a bloodied face. Sorry if that's a little violent, but you're not gonna do that and get away with it. Just like what Landeskog did, he knew by sliding into their goalie, he was going to get some punches thrown his way. He knew it. Comes with the territory of running into, skating into, touching their goalie in any way, shape, or form, any goalie. And the same goes for Ekholm. What did he expect? That nobody was on the Avalanche going to do anything about that? No, like you're going to get some fists in your face, and it's going to come from the captain. And that is why Gabe Landeskog is the perfect captain for this team, because he stands up for his players. I loved it. I love it. And there's no suspensions coming. Like, he got his suspension, air quotes, or his penalty minutes. And Ekholm, what else can you really give him? I mean, you gave him a 2-minute penalty, for ripping off the helmet. That's all you can really give him. So I think that the refs got all of that right. I don't even care about that. I care that our captain stood up for one of our star players when he needed it. So, what was the other thing that we had in that game? Well, I don't know. I haven't heard anything else on Ryan Murray. That's the other thing. Ryan Murray played 11 seconds in this game, and you heard it was a lower body injury, but you haven't heard anything since then, and you probably won't because they've had multiple days off in a row. So you played that game. You won that game 6-2 with essentially no Ryan Murray, and now let me finish this thought. No Curtis McDermott. I'm not saying because he's such an important asset to the Avalanche. He got his 5.5, 6 minutes a game, which is all he's getting. So essentially, you're down 2 guys in this game. You're down Murray and McDermott, who went out there for a few shifts and skated around and looked lost like normal. That's how you played. That's how you beat a team that was ahead of you in the standings, a division rival, which you knew you had to have this game because you just lost one game. You don't want to lose back-to-back games. And you were down essentially 2 players. We'll say 1.5 players. It was a solid game by the Avalanche when you really step back and look at it. The power play did get back on track. 2 out of 4 on the power play. 35 shots on goal, which seems to be your target right now. It's how you want to bounce back. I was very, very happy with how they bounced back because they looked much more in control. And how about Tyson Jost getting a goal? He struggled. He's been struggling mightily. So for him to get a goal, anytime he gets a goal, you just kind of feel good for Tyson Jost. And hopefully that thing that can kickstart him. Hopefully. We'll see. But very happy about it. And I mentioned the standings. I want to bring them up quickly because I don't know who was playing today as I was recording this, but that win brought the Avalanche back up. So where are they? So that put them ahead of Nashville. They are 1 point behind Winnipeg, but they have three games in hand on all three teams ahead of them. And they're 1 point behind Winnipeg, 2 points behind St. Louis, and 5 points, I'm sorry, behind Minnesota. 6 points behind. What the heck? My math is off. 6 points behind Minnesota with 3 games in hand on all of them. Sitting pretty are the Colorado Avalanche. So there is a very interesting decision that needs to be made by the Avalanche, and it comes in goal. So we'll talk about that right after we hear from Built Bar and Built.com. And we had been talking about Black Friday and all the great sales that they had on Black Friday. Well, Black Friday is over and done with, but we are here today, Cyber Monday, and you can go back onto Built.com. You can do Built Bar. I say Built Bar a lot. You need to do BuiltBar.com or Built.com. And that is the place to aim your mouse. Get at least 20% off of everything that is delicious and healthy. That's 20% off site-wide, and even bigger discounts on Built Boost, Built Broth, and Built Swag. Yes, they have that stuff, believe it or not. A brand new Built Bar flavor has landed just in time for Cyber Monday. It is Caramel Almond Delight. It delivers everything that it promises. Caramelized chocolate, almonds, and it is so delicious and tasty. I did get one, and trust me on it, they're excellent. Be sure to get yours before they are gone. 150 calories and 17 grams of protein. And this season, while you're craving white chocolate for a limited time, get a special new Built Bar Puffs flavor. It's white chocolate cheesecake. It's a protein treat filled with a marshmallowy center. It's covered in white chocolate. Those have 140 calories while having 17 grams of protein as well. It says the season to save and to give your taste buds the gift of Built Bar. So go to Built.com for the incredible tasting new bars and 20% off of everything. Just go to Built.com, enter the promo code LOCKED20 before it's too late. And also, Bet Online. Well, the Thanksgiving holiday is over, but that does not mean the bets stop. Football season rages on, and we have more prop bets, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this past Thanksgiving and beyond. Head to our new updated desktop and mobile device websites to sign up, and you'll receive a 50% welcome bonus with the promo code Locked On. It's not just football. BetOnline has pro and college hoops, the NHL, boxing, UFC, and even your favorite Vegas casino game. So don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing available offers for the 2021 season. And BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. It's where the games begin at betonline.ag. So because of Skategate and the Avalanche having a back-to-back games, Jonas Johansson took over for when Kemper was having his skate issues, and you knew he was going to play one of those games in the back-to-back, and he played the second game against Nashville and looked solid. He looked good. They had 28 shots on goal. He was 26 out of 28. So those two things, I know it's a small sample size for this season anyway, but taken as a whole, ever since they acquired him from Buffalo, he's been a solid backup. So the Avalanche have a decision to make here. And it's going to be a calculated and maybe a risky one. because Pavel Francouz seems like he's just around the corner from returning. He's been practicing with the team. So what do you do? Because if you want to move Johansson down to the Eagles, you have to put him through waivers because he has not gone through waivers yet. And you run that risk of somebody picking him up. And the way that he's played, again, small sample size, but people take notice of stuff like that. Would he get claimed? That is what the Avalanche have to ask themselves. I mean, his cap number is virtually nothing. Let me look it up quickly, but I believe it's less than $1 million, $750,000. You get a $750,000 backup who's been playing very well. Now, is he playing very well because of the team he is on? I don't know. He took 28 shots against. I don't care who, that's a lot for an Avalanche team. So do they run that risk of somebody nabbing him going through the waiver wire? You're going to have to put one of them. You're going to have to put him or Francouz on there. And I would think you might be a little bit more comfortable doing it with Francouz. Not only that, I kind of feel like Johansson has earned it. He's played very well, like we're saying. So and he's, the cap number is it suits the Avalanche better. I don't know because where's Francouz? I think is what, 2 million. If I can find him in here, I'm almost positive he's 2 million. I don't see where he is. Oh, there it is. Yeah, 2 million. And your current cap space you have available is just over 900,000. So if Francouz comes back, you have to make other moves. I don't know. Oof. Let me see here. I'm just trying to do. I don't know. I don't know how it works monetarily. I didn't dig too much into that, but just coming from a playing perspective and a playing standpoint, I think Johansson has earned it. I think he's earned to be the backup for now. And I think if you have to put one of them through waivers, I think there's less of a chance of Francouz getting picked up than Johansson. Now, could they put Francouz on the active roster? Yeah, which maybe they will do that, and then you don't have to put any of them through it. Don't believe you do. But do they keep three goalies in the active roster? I don't know if you really want to do that. I mean, you kind of really have to look at numbers. You have to look at like production, who's worth it. I mean, I think once these guys come back, I really want to know, I think Curtis McDermott is almost a shoo-in to be going through waivers and going through or going back down to Colorado to the Eagles, I should say. But the goalie situation is going to be an interesting one because Francouz has not played in a long time. Very, very limited. Do you put him back in really not having played? All of these games are important. Or do you you put him through waivers, let him go down to the Eagles, play a couple games down there to build up his stamina? And if you do bring him back up, you have to put Johansson on the active roster. I don't know. I wouldn't even bring him up right now because I just feel like Johansson's the guy that's earned it. So it's probably going to have to get decided pretty soon because I feel like Francouz has been practicing with the team for like a couple weeks now. How much more time do you need? I'm not sure. Or are the Avalanche just riding this thing out like the Tampa Bay Lightning did last year and not making any moves? Don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on the news wire and see what they do with that. But it's going to be interesting. My vote right now, it's all about the here and now. What have you done for me lately? And what Johansson's done lately is do exactly what the Avalanche picked him up for a couple years ago and be a solid backup. So that will be it for today, everybody. We will be back tomorrow. I'll probably get into the December schedule and anything like that comes out. Any news anything, any new Nathan MacKinnon news, which he should be on the road trip with them. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's episode. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. It is always appreciated. And thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Head on over to Locked On NHL for your second listen of the day to get all of the updated news that happened over the weekend from around the NHL. So that's going to be it. Appreciate everybody tuning in. It's always a pleasure. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.